My sister faked our mother's near-fatal spine injury to ruin my career, so I handed her kids to the police and destroyed her life. I was staring blindly at my phone screen, watching a video of my sister clinking margarita glasses on a Las Vegas rooftop, while her abandoned 3-year-old wiped grape jelly across my pristine white sofa. The police were already on their way, and I was about to hit send on an email that would ensure she came home to an empty house, a restraining order, and absolute professional ruin. My charcoal gray blazer felt like a suit of armor as I stood in front of my hallway mirror, adjusting the lapels for the 5th time. I traced the embossed silver lettering on my heavy leather portfolio. 6 months. 6 agonizing months of grueling, soul-crushing architectural exams, 4 separate rounds of intensely competitive technical interviews, and dozens of sleepless nights hunched over drafting tables. I was exactly 90 minutes away from sitting across from the global board of directors for the lead architect position at one of the most prestigious firms on the planet. This wasn't just a job promotion. This was the ultimate escape hatch. It meant doubling my current salary, gaining a corner office overlooking the Chicago skyline, and finally moving to the city I had dreamed of living in since I was a teenager. The firm's CEO had flown in from London specifically to conduct this final, 4-hour culture fit interview. The stakes were astronomical. My stomach was a tight knot of nervous energy, but my mind was diamond clear. I had the blueprints memorized down to the millimeter. I was ready to conquer the world. Then, the screech of burning rubber against asphalt shattered the quiet Saturday morning. I flinched, my hand jerking and smearing a jagged black streak of eyeliner across my eyelid. Pounding erupted at my front door. It wasn't a polite knock, it was a desperate, violent hammering that rattled the glass panes. I yanked the door open to find my older sister, Sarah, standing on my porch. She looked completely manic. Her mascara was running down her cheeks in dark, chaotic streaks, and her breath was catching in jagged, theatrical gasps. She had her 5-year-old son, Leo, gripped tightly by the wrist, and her 3-year-old daughter, Mia, slung haphazardly over her hip. Both kids were still wearing their wrinkled pajamas from the night before. "Mom fell!" Sarah screamed, shoving past me into the narrow foyer and nearly knocking over my umbrella stand. "Her spine, Jasmine, it's her spine. She fell down the basement stairs and they're rushing her into emergency surgery right now." I felt the blood physically drain from my face, a cold, heavy numbness spreading rapidly down my neck and into my fingertips. The leather portfolio slipped from my grasp, hitting the hardwood floor with a heavy, sickening thud. What hospital? Is she awake?" I stammered, my architectural blueprints entirely forgotten as sheer panic hijacked my nervous system. "Take the kids, I can't take them into the ICU, there's blood everywhere and they are prepping her for the knife right now," she screamed again, her voice echoing shrilly off the high ceilings. Before I could process the words, before I could even ask for an address or a phone number, she dumped the 2 children onto my living room rug. She threw a half-empty, crumpled box of Cheerios onto my glass console table, spun around on her heel, and sprinted back out the front door. She threw herself into the driver's seat of her Honda, slammed it into gear, and reversed over my manicured front lawn. The tires smoked as she peeled out, leaving a dark, ugly skid mark across the concrete. She didn't leave a diaper bag. She didn't leave a change of clothes. She didn't even leave a sippy cup. The clock in the hallway chimed. It was 8:42 a.m. My chest heaved as I looked down at my niece and nephew. Mia immediately started crying, terrified by her mother's frantic disappearance, while Leo just stood there, clutching a sticky plastic toy car, looking completely shell-shocked. I stared at my phone, the screen blurring through a fresh, hot wave of panicked tears. I had to make the call. I couldn't drive to downtown Chicago for a 4-hour interview while my mother was being sliced open on an operating table. Family first. It had always been family first. My fingers shook violently as I dialed Mr. Sterling, the firm's hiring manager. When he answered, his voice was crisp, expectant, and aggressively professional. "Jasmine. We're getting the boardroom ready for you. The CEO is reviewing your sustainable housing portfolio now." I swallowed the hard, dry lump of pure devastation forming in my throat. Mr. Sterling, my mother. She just had a catastrophic fall. She's in emergency spinal surgery. I can't make it to the office today. I am so terribly sorry. Silence fell over the line. A heavy, suffocating, corporate silence that felt heavier than an anvil. Jasmine, he sighed, the polite warmth completely evaporating from his tone, replaced by an icy pragmatism. The CEO is flying back to London tonight. This was your window. We have a massive global rollout on Monday. If you aren't in this chair at 10 o'clock, we have to move forward with the internal candidate. We need someone who can be present. I squeezed my eyes shut, a tear breaking free and burning a hot trail down my cheek. 6 months of blood, sweat, and relentless ambition, vaporized in 3 agonizing seconds. I understand, I whispered. I hung up the phone. I dropped to my knees on the rug, pulling Mia into a tight hug as she sobbed, my own tears soaking into the shoulder of my expensive, now useless, interview blazer. I had just watched my dream job evaporate into thin air, but I had to stay strong for my grieving family. For the next 2 hours, my house was a chaotic nightmare. I changed Mia's overflowing diaper using a makeshift towel and some duct tape because Sarah hadn't left any supplies. I scrubbed crushed Cheerios out of the carpet. And the entire time I was dialing the phone. I called every single hospital trauma center in a 50-mile radius. Mercy General. St. Jude's. County Medical. None of them had a Helen Mercer registered in their emergency department. None of them had a spinal trauma patient matching her description. My panic began to mutate into a frantic, dizzying confusion. At 10:30 a.m., my hands vibrating with residual adrenaline, I dialed my mother's personal cell phone. I expected it to go straight to voicemail. I expected a solemn nurse to answer and tell me to hurry. I did not expect my mother to answer on the second ring, the sound of a potter's wheel whirring softly in the background. "Hi, sweetheart," she chirped, her voice bright, relaxed, and entirely devoid of agonizing pain. "I'm elbow deep in wet clay right now, what's up?" My brain completely short-circuited. I gripped the edge of the kitchen counter so hard my knuckles popped, trying to anchor myself to reality. "Mom? Are you at the hospital?" She let out a loud, carefree laugh that made my stomach violently churn. "Hospital? Heaven forbid. I'm at the community center. We are throwing vases today. Why on earth would I be at the hospital?" I didn't answer. I slowly lowered the phone from my ear and tapped the red button to end the call. A sick, icy dread pooled in the pit of my gut, slowly transforming into something dark and dangerous. I opened the Instagram app on my phone. Sarah's profile bubble at the top of the screen had a glowing pink ring around it. 4 new stories. My thumb hovered over the screen for a fraction of a second before I tapped it. The first video played. It was Sarah, sitting in her brightly lit master bathroom, applying a heavy coat of glossy lipstick. Text overlay flashed across the screen in a neon font, "Get ready with me, Vegas edition." The timestamp showed it was uploaded at 7 a.m. A full hour and a half before she showed up at my door crying about our mother's shattered spine. I tapped to the next story. A wide shot of the airport terminal. I tapped again. A boomerang video playing on a loop. Sarah and 3 of her friends clinking massive, salt-rimmed margarita glasses together. The background was the unmistakable, sun-drenched skyline of the Las Vegas Strip. The caption at the bottom of the screen read, "Spontaneous girls trip. No kids, no stress, just freedom. #VegasBaby #child-free for the weekend #needed this." That's when the real bombshell dropped. I was staring at the photo, my vision literally tinting red at the edges, when I felt a small, sticky hand tug on the fabric of my sweatpants. I looked down. Leo was standing there, staring up at me with wide, innocent blue eyes. He was holding a plastic dinosaur in one hand and pointing at my phone with the other. "Auntie Jasmine," he mumbled, his voice quiet and hesitant. "Mommy said if we were really good for you today, we get to live with Daddy soon." She told me she's moving to Sin City with her new boyfriend. The air violently evacuated my lungs. She wasn't just on a weekend bender. She was scouting a permanent relocation. She was planning to uproot her entire life, abandon her responsibilities, and move across the country with some guy she met on a dating app. And she had used my mother's fictitious shattered spine to turn me into her free, emotionally manipulated, tricked babysitter while I literally torched my dream career to the ground. She knew about this interview. She knew what it meant to me. And she didn't care. I didn't cry anymore. The sadness evaporated, completely incinerated by a rage so pure and white-hot it felt like perfect clarity. I didn't just comment on her photo. I went to war. I immediately took high-resolution screenshots of every single frame of her Instagram story. Every hashtag, every timestamp, every geotag location. I opened my security camera app and downloaded the crystal clear, time-stamped footage of her dumping the kids on my porch and burning rubber out of my driveway. Then, I pulled up David's contact in my phone. David was her ex-husband. He was a good man, an incredible father, and he had been fighting tooth and nail in family court for full custody for over 12 miserable months. He had been repeatedly blocked by Sarah's constant, manipulative lies to the judge about his unstable work schedule. I attached the screenshots. I attached the security video. I sent a single text message, "She's in Vegas." She left them with me under the false pretense of a medical emergency. "Come get your kids." Then, I dialed 911. 911, "What is your emergency?" the operator asked. "Yes, I need to report an active case of child abandonment," I said, my voice eerily calm, entirely devoid of any tremble or hesitation. "My sister has fled the state. She dumped her 3-year-old and 5-year-old at my residence with absolutely no supplies, no diapers, and no change of clothes. She fabricated a severe medical emergency involving a family member to flee the jurisdiction. I have the digital evidence of her current location in Nevada." The police arrived 25 minutes later. 2 uniformed officers, their heavy-duty belts clinking in my quiet living room, sat on my sofa and took my official statement. They watched the Instagram videos. They scrutinized the timestamped security footage. They looked at the 2 bewildered children sitting on my rug in their dirty pajamas. 10 minutes into the interview, a truck slammed into park on the street outside. David sprinted up the walkway and burst through my front door. He took one look at his kids and dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face as he scooped both of them into his arms. He buried his face in Leo's hair, his shoulders shaking with relief. He looked up at me, his eyes burning with a mixture of profound gratitude and absolute fury toward his ex-wife. "She's always treated them like accessories," he hissed, his jaw clenched so tight the muscle visibly twitched beneath his skin. "She never wanted to be a mother. She just wanted the child support." The officers reviewed David's existing partial custody paperwork. Given the overwhelming evidence of state-line flight and child abandonment under false pretenses, the senior officer gave him the green light to take them home immediately. His custody battle was effectively over. Sarah had handed him the silver bullet on a rhinestone platter, and I was the one who pulled the trigger. As David loaded the kids into his truck, thanking me profusely, I walked back inside and sat down at my glass desk. I opened my laptop. The screen illuminated my face in the dimming afternoon light. I pulled up the email thread with Mr. Sterling, the hiring manager at the architectural firm. I didn't draft an apology. I drafted an execution. I attached the official police report number the officers had just handed me. I attached the screenshots of Sarah's Vegas trip, complete with the timestamp proving she was drinking margaritas at the exact moment she claimed our mother was in surgery. I attached the security footage. My fingers flew across the keyboard with a violent, rhythmic precision. "Mr. Sterling," I typed, refusing to backspace a single word. I canceled my final interview this morning because I was explicitly informed by a family member that my mother was in critical condition and undergoing emergency spinal surgery. That was a calculated lie, fabricated by my sister to abandon her young children at my home so she could flee the state on a vacation. I have spent the last 4 hours involving local law enforcement, filing a formal police report for child abandonment, and securing emergency, permanent custody for their father. I paused, taking a deep breath, and typed the final paragraph. I chose what I genuinely believed was a dying parent over this job. I will never apologize for that loyalty. However, now that I know the absolute truth, I have handled this catastrophic situation with the exact same ruthless efficiency, zero-tolerance policy, and immediate crisis management skills I will bring to your firm as lead architect. The evidence is attached. I look forward to hearing from you. I hit send. I closed the laptop. I poured myself a glass of red wine, sat on my couch, and waited for the fallout. The response didn't come that night. It came Sunday morning, at 8 a.m. sharp. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a direct email from Mr. Sterling. The subject line simply read, Zoom link. The body of the email was incredibly brief. The CEO delayed his flight back to London. We require you on a video call at 10 a.m. When I logged onto the Zoom call, wearing my charcoal blazer over a fresh blouse, the CEO wasn't sitting in a boardroom. He was sitting in a private airport lounge. He didn't ask me a single question about my sustainable housing blueprints. He didn't ask me about my architectural background. He stared at me through the camera for a long, heavy moment. You orchestrated a police intervention, facilitated a custody transfer, and documented a legally airtight timeline of events in under 3 hours while under the assumption your mother was dying, he asked, his British accent thick with genuine disbelief. Yes, sir, I replied firmly. I don't let crises manage me. I manage them. A slow, impressed smile spread across the CEO's face. The internal candidate couldn't handle a missing catering order on Friday without having a panic attack. I don't need a drafter, Jasmine. I need a leader. You start as lead architect on the 1st of the month. HR will send over the revised contract, including a signing bonus to cover whatever dry cleaning bill your sister owes you. I smiled. The victory tasted sweeter than I could have ever imagined. But the story doesn't end there. Sarah flew back from Vegas on Monday afternoon. She didn't come to my house to pick up her kids. She drove straight to her own home, expecting to find the house empty, probably planning to text me some excuse about a delayed flight. Instead, she pulled her Honda into the driveway and found 2 police officers waiting for her on her front porch. David had not wasted a single second. He spent all day Monday in emergency family court with his lawyer, armed with my police report and the Instagram evidence. The judge granted an immediate emergency custody order and approved a temporary restraining order. When Sarah stepped out of her car, the officers handed her the paperwork. She was officially barred from coming within 500 feet of her own children, she was issued a summons for family court, and she was informed that child endangerment charges were pending review by the district attorney. She tried to call me. She called me 27 times in a row, leaving unhinged, screaming voicemails accusing me of ruining her life, of being a traitor, of stealing her babies. I didn't listen to a single one. I had already blocked her number on every platform. But the final nail in the coffin happened on Tuesday. Sarah worked in corporate sales for a mid-sized logistics company. Someone, and to this day, I will neither confirm nor deny who that anonymous hero was, forwarded her public Vegas margarita video directly to her company's human resources department. The email also included a link to a local public police blotter showing an active investigation for child abandonment at her home address. She was fired by noon for violating the company's morality clause and bringing negative public exposure to the firm. She lost her kids, she lost her job, and she lost her sister, all because she wanted a child-free weekend in Sin City. I pack my bags for Chicago next week. I have the corner office, the dream salary, and the absolute certainty that I did the right thing. Am I the monster here for completely incinerating my sister's entire existence over a stolen morning, or did she get exactly what she deserved for treating her children like disposable garbage?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.